But one of the things that keeps me going is the heart of God for you. And it's his heart that you experience in the ministry of this movement. And there's a passage of Scripture that really captures his heart for you. And if you read between the lines, if you understand the spirit of what God is saying in this verse, you'll understand why ministers like me and Pastor Kim and Pastor Nick and others who are here, the music ministries who serve tirelessly, blessing us with their gifting and their talents, those in the tech team, audio, video. There's so many pieces to the puzzle. You can't see them usually, but we've got children's church operations going on next door. There are finance committees managing the finances, paying the bills. There's a whole bunch of things. There's staff. Renee is here throughout the week making certain things happen, and all sorts of people playing a part. And we keep going through difficulties, and the reason being is because God has really given us his heart for you. And there's a passage of Scripture in Hosea, and this one just motivates me, and I think it's good for us to understand each other's motivation, but it's in Hosea 4:6. And look at what God says. And God says, my people are destroyed for what? For lack of knowledge. Isn't that something? It doesn't say my people are destroyed for sin. It says my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. That passage of Scripture motivates me because it makes me and the staff here really want to do more, want to be more, want to gain more so that we can continue to disseminate knowledge. And more importantly, lead you to the wellspring of knowledge. We've been talking about, for the past 2 weeks, we've been talking about hearing from God. And it's my passion before I die to lead as many people as possible to the voice of God for themselves. Because if I lead them to the voice of God, they'll tap into an endless flowing brook of knowledge that will sustain their lives. And when he talks about knowledge, he's not talking about simply book knowledge. He's not talking about knowledge through experience. He's talking about life knowledge. And life knowledge comes from God. Let me tell you why. Life knowledge, first of all, is specific to each individual. Because you have to live out your own life. My life is distinct from your life. So there will be some knowledge that we can share and we can benefit from. But God has to speak to you about your life. Are you following what I'm saying? I know we're smart and we're intelligent, but raise your hand in here if you know exactly when you're going to die. Exactly. There's not a one person in here who knows exactly when they're going to die. Why is that significant? That's significant because the instructions for your life, if you're going to die tomorrow, is different than the instruction for the person's life who's going to die in 30 years. Are you understanding me? Because think about it. He has to order your steps based on not only what he knows about life, but what he knows about your life and your destiny. That's why it's so important. If I don't do anything else, I just want to get people to the mouth of God. Because we learned in Proverbs 2:6, it says, for the Lord gives wisdom from where? From his mouth come what? Knowledge and understanding. So we've been talking about hearing from God, and you've got to get, I don't have time to do the recap. Pick up the CDs from the previous weeks if you weren't here. But we talked about how I can't teach anybody how to hear from God. I can only help you to distinguish his voice from the other voices. All of humanity has within them what I'd like to call a knower. And a knower is an organ of perception. It's the ability to hear God's voice. And you don't have to be a believer to hear God's voice. I know that confronts you in your theology, but it shouldn't, because Revelations 3:20 says, behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and sup with thee and he with me. So every individual on the face of the planet has the ability to hear from God. And so I can't teach you how to hear. I can't give you the ability to hear, but I can help you to discern his voice. And we've been talking about hearing from God, and have been 2 weeks of teaching on that. But today I want to spend a few minutes talking about something that's a little more difficult. I mean, I'll be honest with you. It's easy to hear from God. Yeah. It's getting good now. They stopped the soft music now. I can cut a little bit now. Yeah, God. Now, hearing from God is the easy part. Because once you're led to the voice of God, and you know how to hear from God for yourself, you don't lose that. You follow what I'm saying? Remember I talked about there's three types of people: those who hear from God, know they hear from God; those who hear from God and wonder if they heard from God; and those who hear from God but don't want to hear from God. I got kind of a funny story as it relates to that. I was going through something about a week ago, and I decided I didn't want to hear from God. Anybody ever been there where you know how to hear from God, but you mad? You just want to be mad instead? You feel me? You know how to hear from God. You know that you know how to hear from God. But you also know when you hear from God, you're going to have to do something. So you're like, la, 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 la. I mean, am I talking to some real people in here? Come on, let's just be straight up, man. And I went 3 days like, no, I don't. And I left. I mean, I was just gone. As if I can escape God. You know what I mean? I'm leaving. Where are you going? And I literally closed my ear. And God, He loves me so much. Sometimes He allows me to just be stupid sometimes. He's like, you've been working hard, man. Just go ahead and be a jerk for a few days. It's okay. Just kidding. Don't try that. But I did not. I was just frustrated, and I just wanted to exercise my right to be mad. Anybody ever been there? I have a right to be mad. Now, I'm going to be mad, God. Don't talk to me right now. I mean, serious. I ain't saying it's right. I'm just saying it's true. That free will thing God gives us, man. He gives you the right to be a fool. I got a right to be mad, God. God's like, okay, and you're really helping yourself by being mad. Isn't that interesting? We get mad like it's hurting somebody else. They going on about their business, eating pepperoni pizza and watching movies and stuff. We're just mad. So it's the funniest thing. So I closed, I'm like, God, I don't want it. That drove down your street, did it? Okay. All right. Pulled in your driveway and opened the door to your house, huh? Oh, man. So I did that for a few days. And, and then when I finally, got through my attitude, it was almost like God said, you finished, man? I said, yeah. And He started speaking to me. But I tell you what, in that season, even when we're mad, it's worse because God isn't speaking to you. And I don't care where you are. If God isn't speaking to you, you're just lost. You're trying to be mad, trying to play it off like you don't care, but really you know you're lost. You're kind of like, you know what I mean? Because the Scripture says His word is a lamp unto our feet and a light unto our path. What does that mean? His word, Him speaking to us, is a lamp unto our feet. It shows us where we are. That's why it says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because if they don't have my word, they don't even know where they are, let alone a light into the path. In other words, where they're supposed to be. Are you hearing me? So who's really the fool in that place? You follow me? So anyway, I got through that, and the moment I said, all right, God, talk to me. And He spoke, and He just laid it all out. It's like, me and God have this thing. He's like, Trey, don't play games with me. We've been doing this thing together too long. You know how to hear from me. Stop acting like you don't. Lord, I don't know what you're saying. Can you make it more clear?